8-Bit Christmas is a family Christmas film found exclusively on HBO Max, which follows Neil Patrick Harris as Jake Doyle, a father who decides to tell his daughter the story of one Christmas in the late 80s when he and his friends do everything in their power to try to obtain a Nintendo Entertainment System. Neil Patrick Harris does a lot of narrating over the scenes taking place in his past, while his daughter occasionally interjects, and we are brought back into the present day, kind of like in The Princess Bride. 8-Bit Christmas is directed by Michael Dowse, the screenplay is written by Kevin Jacobowski, and it stars Winsley Fegley, who plays the young Jake Doyle, while Steve Zahn, who is a criminally underrated actor, and June Diane Raphael play Jake's parents. Overall, I thought this movie had some very funny scenes in it, and it is definitely one of the more respectable attempts to create a holiday classic that can appeal to kids and adults. However, this isn't a movie that I would ever watch again by myself, because it isn't consistently funny enough and it has a lot of cheesy stuff in it. But as far as family films go, I think kids will love it, and there is a lot that adults will enjoy as well, especially if they grew up playing video games. I have seen other critics compare this movie to A Christmas Story or Jingle All the Way, and it definitely feels like a mixture of those two movies. What makes this movie different from A Christmas Story or even Jingle All the Way is that it has a much more exaggerated tone than those movies. Ordinary events with which many kids can identify, even if they weren't alive in the 80s, are over-dramatized for comedic effect. I liked that approach overall, because it felt a lot like a story that you would tell your friends as a kid, where certain details that may not be entirely true are added in to impress your friends. For example, I remember having friends who lived close by who always had the latest video game system or the latest video game before anyone else, and so we would try to hang out at their house as often as possible to play their new games. Growing up, I was never allowed to own GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, so I would always be trying to hang out at the houses of friends who owned GoldenEye. In this movie, they show the same situation, but instead of showing a few kids trying to sweet-talk the neighborhood rich kid into allowing them to come over, they over-dramatize it by showing about 100 kids on the front porch of this rich kid's house, screaming to try to be one of the lucky few who gets selected each day after school to come inside and watch the rich kid play his NES. There are other funny dramatic flourishes like that throughout the movie, like when Jake Doyle and his friends see the NES in person for the first time. A fog machine starts spewing out smoke behind the TV, and then two laser lights start emanating from behind the display. Another thing that cracked me up was that Cyrus Arnold plays a bully who is supposed to be in the same elementary school as these kids, but he's played by an actor who's 18 years old in real life, and they make his voice very deep with a lot of reverb in a few scenes, and I thought that was hilarious because as a kid I remember viewing other kids who were only a few years older than me as being giants. I thought this dramatization was really funny in some parts, but it started to wear thin by the end of the film. It worked really well when I could personally identify with the situation, where it's like, oh yeah, I remember that happening to me as a kid, but if I couldn't identify with it, then I found the dramatization to be a little tiresome. It's no secret that I don't like the smart kids, stupid parents trope in family movies, and unfortunately this movie has a lot of crazy parents doing and saying pretty stupid things which kind of bug me. Something that I have noticed with a lot of comedies I've been watching recently is that the jokes tend to be front-loaded in the movie, where the first third or first half of the movie is really funny, and then it just kind of meanders toward the end. This movie definitely suffered from that same limitation. However, the ending was very cute, and it had a good message about gratitude and family that will definitely pull at your heartstrings. I would say this movie comfortably fits in the category of family movies that don't make you want to jump off a cliff. It can be hard to find holiday family movies that aren't cringy as heck. As I said before, I don't think I would ever watch this movie again by myself, but I could see myself sitting down with any children I may have in the future, and knowing my kids will enjoy it while I will be able to find enough humor in it to keep me entertained. So yes, I would recommend this movie if you're looking for a good family Christmas film that kids will love that won't drive you completely crazy. So those are my brief thoughts on 8-Bit Christmas. Let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments below, and I will see you next time.